So here I am out at the Victoria Airport on Vancouver Island, and we are here for this, the British Columbia Aviation Museum, specifically over on that side. You can't see it behind the hangar. They've got the Martin Mars, and that's the main reason I came out here. So let's get inside. Let's take a look at some of the cool stuff that they have out here at the Victoria Airport at the British Columbia Aviation Museum. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. So we start off the museum here out front, and you see here some really interesting panels about Robert Hampton Gray. I've talked about him before in previous videos, but he was from the BC area, so there's a big tribute to him here right outside the museum. We'll then move inside. We'll start at the second hangar, then the smaller first hangar, and then we'll move outside to the aircraft that were located externally. So here we are inside the second larger hangar here at the British Columbia Aviation Museum, and got some Christmas music playing. I think one of the cool things they have here is actually right here. It is a DC-3 nose section, forward fuselage set up with the two seats so that you can come out and sit with Santa and get your picture taken. I think that is a really cool idea. But while we're in here, quickly show you kind of what's around. On this side, we've got the CF-104, Canadair CF-104, recently returned after being restored, stripped down, and repainted in this really nice scheme. There's a T-33 over here, the nose of the Lancaster, the Stinson Reliant, and up here we've got the Vickers Viscount. We'll hop over to the other side in a little bit, take a look what's on that side. Here we are over on the other side of the big hangar, and we have a Kamov KA-52, which is, KA-32, says it up here on the nose, KA-32. It's actually on loan from Vancouver International Helicopters. They use these still today in service, and they donated this one, or lent it on for temporarily display. We've also got your Northern Norseman, which is the logo for this museum. So it's a big part of their identity. Over here, the rest of the Viscount. You can do tours through here. I did not, my dad did, but you can go through the nose here and then down and out the back if you choose. There's also a little home built, a Lincoln Sport, a Quickie, which is a really cool little plane. Also of interest here is this Luscombe that's up here. This is painted up as an aircraft that was flown by BC Airways, one of the first airlines out here on the West Coast. It's painted up as one that they used for pilot training. This airframe, however, was donated here by, if I get this wrong, I'll update it in editing. It was donated by Victoria Air Maintenance. They found this in a crate along with a bunch of airplane parts that they salvaged out of South America. So they just went down, they bought a warehouse full of airplane parts, brought it back, started going through crates. They found this. So here it is on display, painted up in the original scheme. So also of note, I mentioned earlier where you could see the plane for Santa, everything has Christmas lights, which is a really, really neat little touch out here. Really like the Christmas lights. So I'm up here on the stand by the cockpit of the Bolingbroke. But it's also a really great opportunity to take a look at this entire museum. So when I get out here, I'm going to do a quick one around so you guys can actually see the museum from up here. So from here in the Bolingbroke, you'll see there's a scale Spitfire. There's the Avro Anson Mark II. You can see there's the Avro 504, not the Avro, the SE5A, as well as the Harvard. And then there's this little kids area here to the left. Now here we've got a Republic CB. That was a common post-war amphibious aircraft. Here there's a little display on kind of search and rescue aircraft on the West Coast, and that's a Trigull, which was a later modernized version of the CB built by a Canadian company that never got past the prototype. This model display is cool. It's inside the blister of a Catalina, which you don't see too often. It's an interesting setup they have. And then again, walking past the Trigull, just on the other side here, you'll see a flight sim setup, which got me distracted for a good chunk of the afternoon. Unfortunately, I spent some time there I shouldn't have. We're back to the area we saw earlier with the kids area and the Bolingbroke and the SE5A. To the right here is a scale Newport. To the left is an Oster AOP-6 post-war observation aircraft with the Anson behind it. I love the setup here with the radios and all the stuff as if the aircraft was actually in service. And the carpets are actually from a mini putt, I noticed as I was walking around there. You can see the little holes and stuff cut in them for mini putt. So over here, I forget what this is, but this is a replica of an aircraft flown on the West Coast. And then this, again, I forget, it's Eastman something. It's the only one of its kind in the world. Over here, there's a Tiger Moth under restoration, back seeing that Avro Anson. And then as we go around the corner here, you'll see there's a really cool setup along the wall there of scale models, and this collection blows me away. This is the kind of display I wish I had for my models. It is amazing, not only the collection and how diverse it is, all 1/72nd scale, but just the display cases, the labeling. It's a beautiful display, and I wish I had something like this. Yeah, it was really cool setup. So here we are outside the BC Aviation Museum, and you can see this thing. It is huge. We have a tour guide with us. We can't be out here on our own. I've already gone through here, so I'm going to throw up some quick video and some pictures I took inside to show you. As I said, we were not able to get into the cockpit. It was off limits today, but we were able to walk through the rest of it. So we will take a look at that here in a sec. So I'm here inside the Martin Mars, and I'm up in the forward section. Unfortunately, we can't go to the cockpit. It's only on Saturdays, and it's not available today. But we do have access to this forward upper deck. And from here, I want to show you here in a second, you can see into the wing structure. So again, up here, you can see there's the access hatch to the rear of the plane. You've got APUs up here, one there, and there's another one beside me. And then on the sides there and here, you have access into the trailing edges of the wings. If you've seen any of the videos, I think specifically the Kermit Weeks video where he flew this to Oshkosh, you see some video of them going all through here. And then here is the actual structure of the main wing box. And just up there, if you can just make out, is the cockpit that we can't get to. So you can travel through here in flight and get from the rear to the cockpit and access all of this internal structure to the wing if you had to get out and make any repairs to any systems. Like I said, this aircraft was designed to fly across the Pacific from San Francisco to Hawaii, straight over into the Japan and the islands. So being able to get in here and fix systems in flight was a big part of keeping this aircraft safe. So here we have the area where the water tank would have been. The water tank would have been this whole area up here. And you've got the drains here which go down to the doors. Now, according to the tour guide, there are multiple sets of doors, but that's where you can see where some of the doors are. And there's also the ability to add retardant, which was a more later addition here with these tanks. So that's pretty cool. And here's the outside displays with the Martin Mars, a Convair 580, the A26, a Tracker, a Sikorsky S55, as well as the Beech 18 there at the end, which was a highly modified one, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. So the one thing I do need to explain, which I don't know if you caught on yet, is I didn't do a really good job of walk around in the first hangar of the museum. I realized very quickly that we were running out of time. We had a hard time back to the ferry to get back across to Vancouver, and I was running out of time. And if we didn't get out of this museum by a specific time, we would be late. So I ended up doing this quick kind of walk around and voiceover to cover everything. It hasn't covered everything very well, and there's a couple of specific aircraft that I do want to show. And the first one is what you're seeing on your screen here is the Conair A26. Now, Conair still exists today. If you remember from the other museum video I did, the Canadian Museum of Flight, they had the Stearman, the Skyway Stearman. Well, Skyway became Conair as life went on. And they've focused not on the water bombing side, but on land-based, not on amphibious water bombers, but on land-based water bombers. And this B-26 was really, or A-26, depending on how you want to call it, was one of their first kind of high-performance water bombers. Prior to that, it was Tiger Moth, Stearmans, Avengers. You know, I guess you could consider high performance, but not to this state with the A-26s. And from here, they moved on to trackers, and then into what they have today with the BAE 146s and the Airbosses and the Dash 8s. So they've really expanded their program as life went on and learned how to operate high-performance land-based water bombers, and the A-26 was really the beginning of that modern water bombing era. Now, the next one here is this Beech 18, and yes, this is a Beech 18. It started life as a standard Beech 18, but got modified with this kit, and there was a couple companies that did these modifications to turboprops and tricycle landing gear and single tails. This was built as a kit, and was called a West Wind 4. And so it was the British Columbia minister at the time, and I forget his exact title, it was like Minister of Roads or something like that. And according to the tour guide at the museum, he spent the entire the entire year's budget for snowplow in British Columbia on this kit, and had this thing modified with the tricycle gear, the single tail from a Beech Queen Air, and turboprop engines. And I guess he didn't last long in the government. He was eventually removed. The aircraft lived on, eventually went to Manitoba with Keewatin Medevacs, which I actually have quite a bit of history with working with at the FBO. And then it was damaged and donated to the museum and restored and put on display. So a really interesting piece of British Columbia history. And finally, there is this. This is an Eastwind rover. Hold on, make sure I get this right. I might have the wrong information. I want to be 100% sure with what I'm telling you guys. An Eastman Sea Rover. So this is the only one left in the world. There was 8 of these built. Again, I'm reading off of an information. So 18 designed and built in Detroit in the late 1920s. The company did not survive the Great Depression. 5 of these aircraft ended up in British Columbia, up and down the coast in various forms. And this is the only one left. It was restored from the pieces of 3 that were recovered from different sites. And it's interesting because it looks metal, but it's actually metal over a wooden frame. So it's a really interesting, neat plane, and it kind of, you can start to see that process of developing quote unquote bush planes specific for what the role was. But very cool to have this on display. Also of note, it's a little hard to see in this picture, but the engine that's on this, they're 2 3-cylinder radials. So it's a 6-cylinder double row radial engine, and it's the smallest double row radial engine ever made. Again, really neat little piece of history. Super cool to have that at the museum. Now, that is going to wrap up our look at this museum. I'm going to finish off here with the road sign as well as the outside of the museum, but highly recommend visiting this museum if you guys are out in the Victoria area. Super cool museum, lots of neat stuff to see. Again, ask your tour guide for a tour outside. The Martin Mars and some of the outside assets are really cool. You got to go out with a tour guide. So really neat. Highly recommend it. I had a blast there. My dad loved it. It was well worth the trip. Also, I did not get video of the restoration area. They have a Piasecki Hup, not a Piasecki Hup, the Flying Banana H21 under restoration. And there's a Lancaster FM 104, the one that was based in Toronto, is under restoration. So that's worth sticking your head in. But again, I was short on time and I needed to make my ferry ride home. So we ended up rushing a little bit through the end of it. So again, thank you to the British Columbia Aviation Museum for having us out there, letting me walk around and film. And again, we'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.